Hi, y'all. So, Addeo version 0.02 dropped earlier this week, and it brought with it two important features. Number one, Disney Plus support, and number two, synchronization control via browser URLs, the same URLs that enable Addeo altogether. So, we're going to dive into both of those in more depth in just a moment here, but first, a quick demonstration. So, just click the link. This is how easy it is now to get to an Addeo video. So, I click the link, it opens up a browser which is already Disney Plus enabled, or already logged into Disney Plus, excuse me, and has Addeo on it. So you're not going to be able to see the pixels of the Mandalorian here. As you can see, I can pause, and the Addeo pauses as well because of Disney's DRM, which I'm not going to work around. That is kind of against the purpose of Addeo. The whole point of Addeo is you don't have to work around with it. But as you can see, we can just launch directly into this. We're on Disney Plus. We have an Addeo in our browser. We can play. We can pause. We can actually seek. And so I will seek back to the beginning here. And an interesting thing is going to happen now. The Addeo has popped up. Natalie Gold, who is providing the Addeo that we're using in our demonstration here, excellent creator. Check out links to her stuff in the description. She is doing her introduction in this part of the Addeo, and as you can see, the Addeo has actually paused the video. This is part of the synchronization control that I mentioned, so we're going to discover how that's done in just a moment here. But yeah, this is now the first version of Addeo that has a complete and functional workflow where you can actually have a whole Addeo video integration like this. So this whole thing actually is synced up with the Addeo Natalie has created here, and we're going to explore exactly how that's done. So I close this down. Let's go back to look at the link. So if you're just interested in the features, that part's over. This next part of the video is just going to be about showing how to create the link that backs this thing that I just clicked. So let's close this, or minimize it rather, and take a look at the actual link here. A little bit of this I'm not going to be able to show you because it includes the YouTube ID of the Addeo, which is Natalie Gold. So you'll see some black boxes on this. I don't see them now, but you will see that in a moment here. The full link that that was behind that text that I clicked on earlier is up here. This is it. It goes off to the side. I'm not going to move this text because that's going to make blocking out the YouTube ID more complicated for me in editing. But essentially, it's quite a long link, so there's a reason I put it behind the text. If you are sharing that link with people, say by posting it on a website, or I think Twitter automatically masks links for you, so that would hide that. But it doesn't. You probably don't want to show the whole link just because it's long. Long term, these long links will be replaced with configuration files. Will probably still allow you to do it purely link-based for flexibility's sake. But for now, just know the link is a little bit long. It's not a problem. Links are allowed to be very, very long. It's just something to be aware of. So down here below, we actually break this link up into its individual components. So these are all of the pieces of that link. If I removed the new lines from this, it would reconstruct that link that is up above. So this is just a pure Disney Plus link. So if I open this, if I go to this link in a browser, this will take me to the Mandalorian video season 1. And actually something you may have noticed earlier in the demonstration, it didn't start at the beginning. That's because Disney Plus remembers where you were in the video last time you were watching it. So since I've been using that video for testing purposes, I've been all over the place in that video over the past couple of weeks. So that's the main part of the link. Then we have this question mark. This question mark basically means we're going into what I believe are called query params. I'm not much of a web dev, but I think they're called query params. Basically, it's just stuff that we can stick on the end of the link. The server over at Disney Plus may or may not care about any of these things. You'll see these kinds of parameters if you do certain kinds of searches on certain websites. You'll get, things like query equals whatever you searched, something like that. You'll see that appear in the URL of whatever it is you were going to. So These are just ways of communicating with, potentially with servers. We're not actually using it to communicate with servers. We're using it to communicate with Addeo. Specifically, the first one is this one. So we just put that in there. All that does is tell Addeo, I specifically want you to put an Addeo on this video. This is just a clarity measure to help make sure that we always add Addeos when we want them, and we never add Addeos when we don't want them. So that's the first part of adding Addeo to a link. So the second part is here, and this is where you'll see some black box. You'll see YTID equals, and then there's text under there. YTID is YouTube ID. So that is the code that YouTube uses to identify the Addeo video, right? So that video that was up in the top right is an unlisted YouTube video that contains the Addeo that I want superimposed on the underlying video. This is important to include because without this, the Addeo plugin and extension in the browser, will not know which YouTube video it's supposed to go get and embed as an Addeo. So this is what it uses to find that, and because it's unlisted and because this is actually Natalie Gold's, again, check the description for links to her stuff. I'm not going to show you what that actually is, but it's just some text. Next we have, so that's the second part of a link here. So next we have position. This just tells you, or tells Addeo, where on the screen you want the Addeo to be. So right now, as you saw in the demonstration before, the Addeo is at the top right. I could also have it top left, bottom right, and bottom left, but we'll leave it as top right for now, because that's actually where I prefer it. Because of the way Natalie Gold has her videos set up, that has it look like she's looking at the screen, so I think that works well in this case. Now we have a scale variable. So scale equals 20. That tells Addeo what size you want the video to be. So this is a percent. So I have it as 20%. So the video at the top right will be 20% of the width and height of the containing video. So that, the Addeo will be 20% of the size. If you want to make it smaller, you can make this number smaller. If you want it bigger, you can make this number bigger. It's just all controlled right there from the link. This one is a bit more complicated. You probably couldn't see it because of the background because of the DRM'd background, but we're actually doing a chroma key effect because of this parameter. So that's not actually useful in Natalie's case, and I was going to demonstrate how you could change the Addeo by taking this out, but you won't be able to see it because of the DRM. But essentially what this means is if you include this, then the Addeo will try to have a chroma key effect on it. This is how you can add transparency to your Addeos if you want it. In this particular case, this says I want the color that I want to make clear is black. So think of this as the part corresponding to when you have an HTML color. That means black. Whereas this means white. The meaning behind that is beyond the scope of this, but you can certainly look it up. These two control some math within the chroma key effect. We're not going to go into how that works either. I think this is a power and this is a threshold. I may have that wrong. No, I think this one's the power, this one's the threshold. It essentially has to do with the intensity of the fall off around this detected color, which has to do with the quality of the chroma key. So all of that is tunable from within the browser, but you don't really need to worry about it. So these things then are enough when added after a question mark and separated by the ampersands, which tells the browser and Addeo what are the gaps between query parameters. That's enough to get you an unsynchronized Addeo, and all of that was in place before version 0.02. Now, it didn't support Disney Plus, of course. That part's new, but all of that was in place. The biggest feature, however, of version 0.02 is this new section. This is the commands section. This is where synchronization is controlled. And we're going to walk through now what all of this means. It also is by far the longest thing in the link. So first of all, take note, this is commands, and there is only one equal sign in all of this, and no ampersands. So the point to take away from that is this is all one query param. So the format of this is very, very important because you are instructing Addeo on how to synchronize the Addeo and the video. So within this one query param, let's move all of this down because this is the actual content of the query param. We have a number of commands. Each command begins with this. This is a timestamp. I'll explain that in a moment. And ends with a semicolon. So let's split it up into individual commands. And this is going to be quite simple to understand once we get to it. So, and it's actually been a couple of days, so I'm going to be relearning what all of this means as I read it to you. So that'll hopefully help communicate just how simple it is. So, like I said, each one begins with a timestamp and ends with a semicolon. Now, each of these is an individual command. So we have 5 commands in this. The first thing is the timestamp, and timestamps are always of the following format: a V or an A, and a clock time. In this particular case, 0 minutes and 3 seconds. So the V or A tells Addeo whether this is a video time or an Addeo time. So the way to interpret any command is when the video or Addeo reaches a certain time, do things. Right? So let's look at this one. This is when the video reaches the 4-minute mark, do stuff. And this one is when the Addeo reaches the 41-minute 12-second mark, do these things. So now so it's very, very simple. It's just based on when you get to a point, here are the actions I want you to take. And now we have we have the actions themselves. So when the video reaches 3 seconds, for example, pause the video at 3 seconds and play the Addeo from 0 seconds. This is how we do the introduction thing that we were talking about before. So this is how you can have the video paused and the Addeo playing. You can just tell Addeo that's what you want to do. This allows Natalie Gold to do her introduction and have the video just sit there and wait for her to be done with the introduction. And of course, when her introduction is done, at the Addeo 3 minutes and 33 seconds mark, then we play the video again from the same place where we paused it. So that's the whole introduction done right there. That's how you synchronize her introduction with the underlying video. So the Addeo and the video can pause and then play together, synchronized. This is a slightly interesting one. This is what you might call a synchronization point. This says when the video reaches the 4-minute mark, play the Addeo from the 7-minute 30-second mark. Now, notice that the video was, or the Addeo rather, was already playing at this time, right? So the Addeo was never told to pause since it was told to play here. So the Addeo has been playing this whole time. What this specifically does is it tells Addeo that there is a synchronization point between the video and the Addeo at the video is 4 minutes and the Addeo is 7 minutes and 30 seconds. This just allows, if there's a part of the video that for whatever encoding reason or whatever else was a little slower or streamed a little slower or something like that, if there was a time synchronization problem, this allows Addeo a point to get back on track. And actually, Addeo will try to very slightly manipulate the speeds of playback under the hood so that it hits this synchronization point seamlessly. So the user doesn't see it, there's no pausing or skipping or anything. This will just say, when the video is at 4 minutes, the Addeo will be at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's a synchronization point. And the only other thing the only other command that we have in here is the outro. So we're in my testing, we remained pretty well in sync throughout the whole video. And when we get to the Addeo, excuse me, when the Addeo gets to his outro, is when we need to pause the video. So the outro begins at video is 36 minutes and 11 seconds. So then we will pause the video again, pausing at 36 minutes and 11 seconds, and play the Addeo at 39 minutes and 43 seconds. So this actually serves as both a pause point and another synchronization point, because again, we're saying play the Addeo here. The Addeo was still already playing. The Addeo has never been paused through all of this. We could pause it, and we actually will in the next command, but we've never paused it yet. So if we call play on a video that is already playing, that serves as a synchronization point between the timestamp of the relevant command and the thing that we are playing. So the outro for the Addeo begins over here at 39 minutes and 43 seconds. It ends at 41 minutes and 12 seconds. So when the Addeo reaches 41 minutes and 12 seconds, we pause the Addeo, play the video because it goes into the credits, and we hide the Addeo. And that's it. That's all that you need to make a Addeo-enabled synchronized link to a Disney Plus video. You just need... My mouse has fallen asleep. There we go. You just need the underlying Disney Plus link. You need the YouTube ID of the Addeo that you want to add in. And you get to make some decisions about what your how you want to display things. So where you want the Addeo to be, what size, whether or not you want chroma key. If you don't want chroma key, just delete that. In this particular case, we actually don't, so I'm going to leave it deleted now. And now the synchronization commands. And we just talked through at length how to put together those synchronization commands. Basically just pick times where important things happen in both the Addeo and the video, and write commands that will make sure that they display together. And if we put all this back together in a line, because in a URL you cannot have new lines, at least not as such. Now we have the commands query parameter. Now we have the scale and commands, and position, and ID, and Addeo. And there it is. That is a functional Addeo link. And just, again, just to demonstrate this, I've already moved the thing, which I didn't want to do. Let's, again, open up a browser. This is a browser with Addeo installed, and I'm actually already logged into Disney Plus. So, of course, this won't work if I'm not logged into Disney Plus. Disney Plus will say you can't see that content. All I have to do is go to this link, and it brings up the synchronized video and Addeo. Pretty neat, huh?